Hello, my friends. Today we'll start with the fact that the electricity situation in Ukraine is getting worse, especially in Kyiv, because of the large number of strikes. It's reported that there may be no electricity for 16 hours or more. Kyiv is moving to a schedule of 4.5 to 5 blackout queues. Under these conditions, power outages can last more than 16 hours, said the CEO of Yasno. Kyiv residents have roughly 3 hours with electricity and 10 hours without it. There are also many accidents in the city, and buildings often lose power because of problems with internal networks. Zelensky also said that the Russians have conducted reconnaissance over nuclear power plants and are preparing new strikes.
I also want to highlight the work of our Naftogaz team. Throughout the week, there were strikes on company facilities in different regions, with the most recent ones targeting gas production. That strike happened yesterday. It is very important that private Ukrainian companies are working together with the government, with the state, and within the national system to strengthen the country's resilience. If the Russians truly wanted to end the war, they would focus on diplomacy, not missile attacks, not blackouts, and not attempts to damage even our nuclear power plants. We have data on the facilities that Russia has been scouting reconnaissance for strikes. Everything clearly shows that diplomacy is definitely not a priority for Russia. This must be acknowledged. We must continue to put pressure on the aggressor and on the real cause of this war. The cause is in Moscow. This week we will work toward increasing that pressure and toward a clear global position on Russia.
All of this indicates that in the near future, while freezing temperatures still persist in Ukraine, the Russians will continue striking the energy sector. Meanwhile, more and more statements are appearing, even from members of parliament, saying that Ukraine should give up Donbas. Ukraine must give up Donbas even if it's very painful. This is the opinion of many MPs in parliament and people in Kyiv. A ceasefire is needed at any cost, said Welt chief reporter Stefan Schwarzkopf, quoting a very influential female MP. Why didn't she say this publicly? Because an atmosphere of fear prevails in Kyiv. Her political career would end immediately, the journalist added. Yevhen Dykий also stated that Ukraine needs to accept this unpleasant decision. We are doomed to defeat in the near future. The only way out is to adopt very unpleasant mobilization measures, Yevhen Dykий said. Friends, what do you think about this? Should Ukraine sign a capitulation and agree to all of Russia's conditions? Uh, Syrskyi has already said that Ukraine is not planning any concessions. Quite the opposite. There are even plans to carry out offensive actions on the front line in order to improve Ukraine's position in the negotiation process. Ukraine will conduct offensive operations because there will be no victory in defense, Syrskyi said. I fully support the president's position on territorial issues. This is land soaked in the blood of our citizens. Thousands of soldiers have given their lives. Therefore, the position of our country's leadership is acceptable to us, and we understand it. He also noted that in 2026, Russia plans to conscript 409,000 personnel. Russia's mobilization potential exceeds 20 million people, with 4.5 million already being a trained reserve. The armed forces have better staffing results than 7 months ago. Recruitment officers are working better with people. We don't see signs that the Russian Federation is generally preparing for peace negotiations. According to the General Staff's assessment, they are instead escalating the war, he said. Overall, friends, share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, Zelensky said that the negotiation process is continuing.
Today there were reports from our delegation in the United States. Rustem Umerov briefed us on meetings with representatives of President Trump. There have already been several rounds of negotiations, and the work is ongoing. They are working on documents needed to end the war. It is important that the Ukrainian team fully informs the American side about what is happening in Ukraine and about Russia's constant strikes on our energy system.
Now, let's move on to the situation along the front and start with the border area, where the Russians have recently shown high activity. Today, however, it can be said that the situation has stabilized. In the Sumy direction, no new assaults have been recorded, and the Russians are carrying out only shelling of the city of Sumy. Here as well, they're striking energy infrastructure facilities. In the Kharkiv direction, aside from shelling, no new assaults have been recorded, and the front line remains stable. In the Vovchansk direction, the Russians are trying to fully seize the village of Prelipka. They are also assaulting the outskirts of Vovchansk and Vovchansky Khutory. However, there have been no changes there over the past day either. At the same time, along the border, the Russians continue to attack the village of Krugle, but so far the armed force of Ukraine have been able to repel all attacks, and there are no changes there. In the Velika Burluk direction, the Russians are assaulting Chugunivka. Otherwise, the situation there remains stable with no new breakthroughs reported. In the Kupiansk direction, the Russians are attacking Petropavlivka and Kurylivka. At the same time, they have failed to regain positions in the Kupiansk area, as the armed forces of Ukraine are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Borova direction, the Russians continue attacking Novosergiyevka, but they haven't been able to establish a foothold near the village, and the front line there remains unchanged. In the Liman direction, the Russians continue trying to break through to the outskirts of Liman. They assault on Stavky and Drobusheva, but so far they haven't been able to advance further. The armed force of Ukraine are successful repelling all attacks, and sabotage and reconnaissance groups in the Svyatogirsk area have already been eliminated. In the Slovyansk direction, the Russians are trying to break through beyond Svyatopokrovsk, but they have had no success, and the front line hasn't changed over the past day. In the Kramatorsk direction, all attacks have stopped, although the Russians claim to have captured the village of Privilla. There is no video evidence to support this, and the Ukrainian side has officially denied the Russian statement. In the Kostiantynivka direction, the Russians are assaulting Pretechene, Pleshiyivka and Ilyinka, and are trying to break through beyond Ivanopilla and Rusin Yar. The activity is quite high. The Russians are not sparing resources, with the maximum number of drones deployed over all of Kostiantynivka and the roads around the city. However, this still doesn't help them advance, as the armed forces of Ukraine are successfully destroying the drones with FPV drones. In the Dobropilla direction, the Russians are attacking Torsk and Sofiyevka, but they haven't been able to advance further, and the situation remains unchanged. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians are assaulting Rodinsk and trying to break through near the mine across the fields. Fighting is also ongoing on the outskirts of Myrnograd, as they attempt breakthroughs in the Pokrovsk area and along the western flank, but there have been no changes over the past day. In the Novopavlivka direction, the Russians continue attacks in the town. They are also assaulting Filia and attempting to advance toward Ivanivka. But over the past day, they have made no progress and the front line remains unchanged. In the direction of the settlement of Pokrovsk in Dnipropetrovsk region, the Russians are trying to break through near Sosnivka and Vishneva. However, over the past day, there have been no major changes as all attacks have been successfully repelled. In the Gulyaipole area, this region is much more difficult. Activity is several times higher here. The Russians are breaking through near the villages of Solotke, Dobropilya, Varvarivka, and Dorozhnyanka, and are assaulting the outskirts of Gulyaipole. The Russians are using artillery and FPV drones very actively in this area. Still, over the past day, there have been no changes along the front line. In the Zaporizhia direction, activity is still minimal. The Russians are assaulting Primorsk, but they haven't been able to establish a foothold here there, and the front line remains unchanged. In the Kherson direction, the Russians still haven't managed to break through to the right bank, and the front line remains unchanged. Mm, Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces fighters say that rumors are again circulating about Syrskyi being removed from his position. At the beginning of the month, talks about replacing Syrskyi picked up again. Some even shared the insider information suggesting he might be dismissed within a few days. But these talks will likely remain just talk, as for now he is not going to be replaced. That said, things could change. At the moment, I wouldn't even call his position shaky. The chair wobbles, but no more than that. I wouldn't be very surprised if anything happened in the coming weeks. Despite imperfect relations between Syrskyi and Fedorov, Syrskyi position remains solid. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also made a statement regarding Greenland.
Kristen, let me tell you what'll happen, and it might not be next year, might not be in 5 years, but down the road, this fight for the Arctic is real. We would keep our NATO our NATO guarantees. And if there were an attack on Greenland from Russia, from some other area, we would get dragged in. So better now, peace through strength, make it part of the United States, and there will not be a conflict because the United States right now, we are the hottest country in the world. We are the strongest country in the world. The Europeans project weakness. The U.S. projects strength.
Overall, we are waiting to see how events develop. Friends, make sure to share your opinion in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.